Hey, everybody, Drew Alcoholic. I've been sober since December 6, 1995. This is my home group. I've always had a service commitment in AA and always had a sponsor. I got sober when I was 20 and now I'm 50. And if you're arrhythmically challenged, that means in about a little less than 2 weeks, I'll be 30 years sober. And, looking at your faces, I know most of you, you are the promises coming true, right? The fact that I get to have meaningful relationships and friendships with all of you people, and I do mean it that way, you people. I am the kind of guy who defaults to go away, leave me alone. I don't want to be here. My earliest memories of myself, when I was about 10 years old, I remember just thinking, I would rather be somewhere else with other people doing something else at another time. That's my earliest sort of awareness of me. And I have always sort of defaulted to wanting to be somewhere else, somebody else, doing something else. I think I should probably disclose, if it's not obvious, I'm from the 1900s. I got sober. I was born in the 1900s and I got sober in the 1900s. I'm one of the last generations to get sober with payphones and phone books. For some of you that are born in this century, we used to have to look up AA in a big book that was like very thick. And they used to put it on your porch and you would like look up alphabetically Alcoholics Anonymous. And a lot of us called the Automobile Club of the United States of America. You also I remember being young, I was 20, just trying to figure out life and going to AA meetings, hitching rides with people. And you kind of didn't know where AA was. It was very secret society. And unless you had a list, you had to kind of call around to figure it out. So what I'm trying to say is I'm a grumpy old man and I think you got it easier than I did. If you're new and young like me, like I was, I guess what I'm trying to say is this too can be yours. I was very cute and young and sober, and now this happened. It's just, I'm sorry about it. It's just, this is what I look like now. And fortunately, there's tools to help me be okay with it. And my wife still, don't break it to her. I know I'm punching out of my weight class, but maybe you just don't tell me that. A lot of people like to say, that's your wife? Yeah. Develop a winning personality. I guess that's what I got. My alcoholism started in the 1800s. I have an ancestor, my family has been in California since the 1830s. And in the 1830s, a man named Dr. Edwin Bale was known for two things. He was known for being the first English doctor in California. He has a mill, the Bale Mill up in Healdsburg. You can visit it. And he was known for two things, being the first English doctor in California and being a world-class alcoholic. It's written in the California history about how he challenged a great swordsman to a duel over a girl. Sound familiar? And he died very young. It was very tragic. And that sort of chain of tragic, exciting people landed on me, right? I remember the first time I personally was exposed to the idea of alcoholism. I was about that same time when I was about 10 years old. My cousins came down to my house and they were like, Uncle George is an alcoholic. And I'm like, oh, I got to see this. So I ran to the house and I looked into his room and he was on a stripped mattress laying on his face. And he was red in his tidy whities. And I was like, okay, check. Alcoholic. Got it. And I just went on with my life. I don't want to badmouth alcohol. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, I only drank for about 5 years, and 3.5 of them were pretty fun. Like I didn't realize that I have an abnormal reaction to it. And what it allowed me to do is treat that problem of not wanting to be me. And I didn't know at the time because I thought that that's the experience that everybody has. I thought everybody has a kind of personality transformation when they drink, but I don't have anything to compare it to. It's just my reaction. It's like talking about what an apple tastes like to you, right? It's just what an apple tastes like. I don't know. But I drank, and what happened was, now looking back, I can tell you is that that desire to be somewhere else, doing something else was fear. I was so afraid of you finding out like who I was and what I was about. And I just wanted to be a part of something. I just wanted to be a part of something. That idea too of wanting to be evasive, I carried that into every part of my life as a young person. I didn't want to be, I like didn't feel part of my family. I didn't feel part of my social life. I didn't feel part of things at school. I was just so separate, and it's my default to just separate, put distance in, right? And my family had its own alcoholism struggles. My dad, like I said, that chain came all the way down to me, and my dad and his dad were alcoholics. My grandfather died in his early 50s of alcoholism. My grandmother, I didn't find out till later, was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous who got sober in the 50s in Walnut Creek. And I just remember as a cool old lady who smoked cigarettes in my backyard while I did ollie jumps. I would like make mistakes on my skateboard, and she would smoke cigarettes, and we would talk. And she was just a great conversationalist. I didn't know she was in AA. But I am a classic high potential, low performance kind of guy. People like, ever since I was young, people are like giving me this sort of precocious tag of like, oh, aren't you sharp? Aren't you bright? That was my most common description, is you're so bright. And then they got my report card and they're like, man, maybe not. I'm a good test taker. I'm a good talker, but I don't want to do the work, right? I just don't want to do the work. And so fortunately, the chaos of my family life growing up just distracted everybody, and I sort of coasted through high school. I drank in high school. It was pretty fun, actually. My goal was to have my life be like an 80s party movie, like Bachelor. Really, it's Teen Wolf was my model movie for growing up, right? And if you think about it, I know the movie's actually about puberty, but for me, it was about the transformation that I experienced from drinking. Is that when I drank, I became Teen Wolf and I could dunk on people. I'm sure I'm the only one. I loved it though. And I actually got this like cool group of homies, and I also got a job at Safeway. I was working at Safeway. I was like one of the first kids in school to have a job. And I got to drink after work on weekends with the 20-something guys who would like buy a 12-pack because they had to work swing shift. And my God, I had so many of these I have arrived moments with drinking where it was like, it all makes sense, right? Sharing a 12-pack with these 23-year-old dudes. I remember one time the Clayton cop came by and just checked on us, and I was like 17 drinking a Coors Light, and they were like, hey, how's it going, guys? And they drove off, and I'm like, that's it. I'm in. I am in. This is it. And I also enjoyed all those like suburban white kid camping trip, LSD, Mount Diablo type things. You familiar with those? Yeah, we did a lot of those. And that was two like places where I was like, this is it, Ecomouse, Berkeley Square, way too much weed in, right? There were just so many moments where like I had this like I have arrived moment. And yes, they were pathetic and stupid, but just bear with me. It's my story. My parents got a divorce right after I graduated from high school, and they asked me to move out because I was making $7.25 as a checker at Safeway. So they said, you got to go. And I moved in with some friends at the Crossroads, no irony there, Crossroads Apartments on the corner of Ignacio and Clayton Road. You're familiar? And boy, it was the Crossroads for me. I was really aiming for blowing my brain out with alcohol and drugs. That was maybe consciously or unconsciously my goal, is to like live like Hunter S. Thompson and just shred it out, right? I don't know where that comes from either, right? Like most 19-year-old kids are not like bent on self-destruction, but it was like 1992. It seemed appropriate. And I also didn't have any like romantic or otherwise prospects going on at all, which I know you might find shocking. This profound mixture of self-hatred and a giant ego pushed every romantic possibility away from me. And that was true deep into my sobriety as well. But we'll stick a pin in that. We'll get back to that. So what happened was I went on a mushroom trip and I never came back. I went psychotic. And by the way, I drank like and used drugs pretty much every day for about a year and a half from the time I was 18 to about 19 and a half years old. I took some mushrooms, never came back. And then my roommate at the time told my mom that I was probably suicidal, and she took me to a rehab. The rehab was a really sweet group of people. They were very nice. I had a coworker that came and visited me there. She came and she was a speaker about 3 weeks ago, Lori, she's not Higgins anymore, something else. But anyway, Lori came and visited me. She worked in the deli. I worked in the grocery department, and she like told me about AA and how it was going to work. And then after meeting her and maybe getting a little bit of hope and calm, I went and threatened the life of every person in that rehab. And I was arrested 5150. That was the first time I ever got arrested. I'm sure I qualified a lot of times to get arrested. I drove drunk so many times. I stole a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm in no way like a jail kind of guy. I'm definitely a psych ward kind of guy. And let's talk about that. So I was arrested 5150 out of the Azure Acres Rehab Center. And I was kind of observed in a hospital in Santa Rosa. And then I was put in an ambulance, and they're going to take me down to the Herrick Medical Center, the psych ward on Shattuck. And I had decided that I was actually the Antichrist, and that I think it's pretty funny. You can laugh at that. By the way, I don't know if you know this, if you're new, in AA, we have a very dark sense of humor, right? It's in the big book. We burst into merriment over a seemingly hopeless situation. But why shouldn't we? We're here. We are a room full of dead people. We really are, right? How many times in your story can you say you miss death by that much? Or that combination of chemicals in your body should have killed you right over. But you're here in a church, not at church on a Sunday night. So nice Christian boys from Concord don't rule the underworld and then earth as the Antichrist. At least that sense of a moral compass had been installed enough to motivate me to break out of my restraints in the back of that ambulance and jump out onto the freeway. I did that. I wasn't imagining that. I had psycho strength. Anybody? Superhuman psycho strength. It's like what the Incredible Hulk was based on. So I broke out of these restraints, like put my face palm, the two EMTs, and kicked the back door open and jumped onto Highway 101, just south of Santa Rosa. I landed and did some sort of like psycho parkour barrel roll and started like bloody screaming on the shoulder of the freeway. The EMTs caught me and I fought with them. And I remember, this is the one thing I do remember, one of them was on my neck and he had his knee on my throat and he was pulling my hair towards him. And I heard a pop in my neck and I thought, that's it. This is where the game ends. That's a wrap. You know what's weird though? I was only 19 years old, and that's not the first time I thought to myself, this is probably where my story ends, right? Like, I remember getting shot at a party down on Moore Lane once. like near misses on drunk driving experiences. It's a pretty common thing that we get used to as drinking alcoholics, that just a little hair this way or that way, right? And the real tough thing is getting sober for a little while and thinking, it was just a phase. I was a little too young. And you neatly forget all of those moments that almost killed you, right? There's a lot of people that don't make it here. Probably most people don't make it here. So anyway, back to the freeway. I hear the pop, I pass out, I wake up and I'm lying on the shoulder of the freeway of 101. And I look this way and there's a fire engine now, CHP, and a big CHP boot on this wrist. I look this way, another CHP boot on that wrist. And one of the CHP guys shines his light in my face and he's like, "It's all right, buddy." And I pass out. And they hog tie me, put me back in the same ambulance. Talk about walk of shame. And I woke up strapped to a table in the Herrick psych ward. And I was strapped to a table for 6 days, sort of fighting it out. Without me knowing it, my mom started visiting the mental hospital, visiting me. Forgive me if they don't call it that anymore, but 1900s, remember? And they told my mom that I was probably schizophrenic and that I would be institutionalized for the rest of my life. And my mom, with her semester and a half of education from Diablo Valley College, looked at these people with tweed jackets with like reinforced elbows and said, no, 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 no. Drew's just an alcoholic and he needs to go to AA. And guess who was right? Right? But it took a long time, like I was locked up in that psych ward for a long time, for months and months and months. It did seem like I was in a kind of one flew over the cuckoo's nest kind of situation, like I was going to have to meet a large Native American guy to throw a big sink through a window or something. But they eventually let me out. And an alcoholic without a solution is a pretty terrifying thing. I mean, I was so terrified of everything, just terrified all the time. And I was on a lot of like heavy duty antipsychotic medication. And they also said like, you got to go to rehab. And I didn't know what that meant. But I did a lot of treatment and medical treatment for alcoholism, medical treatment for my psych issues. And eventually I got through this place after going through a lot of these things where one of the doctors in a treatment center said, you need to go to AA. And I was offended because, look, I am 19 years old. I cannot buy alcohol. How do I qualify for AA? It's very simple, sir. And what I can tell you is that my case is different, or I'm not qualified, is the mating call of every alcoholic. You don't understand. I don't qualify for this. Everybody has a disqualifier. Now that's different from Al-Anon. Welcome all the Al-Anons. If you're here tonight, welcome. In Al-Anon, they have qualifiers. That's people who suffer from alcoholism because of you. So that's your free gift tonight, everybody. You're a qualifier for somebody in your life. And if you don't think you're affecting somebody with your alcoholism, keep coming back. But I knew I didn't qualify for AA, but a couple things. I didn't really talk much. I was not really the most verbal guy when I was taking several milligrams of Haldol and Cogentin. And anybody Haldol, Cogentin? They're not legal drugs anymore. They don't use them anymore, I don't think. And so I just had this like list of things I was supposed to do, like get my card signed and go to AA and, try to get my license back, all this kind of stuff. And so I started going to AA meetings reluctantly. My first meeting looked like it was full. It was a men's meeting at noon, and it looked like it was a bunch of guys who looked like me now. So I'm not going there. And they gave me a book, and the way they described it, it sounded like the Amway Vitamins multi-level marketing scheme. Enough said. And then I don't know what happened, but somehow my mom's car found a young people's meeting. And it was at that young people's meeting that unlocked the most important thing that had happened to me in my life at that point. And that is I went to this young people's meeting and I identified the people in that meeting. Meaning, instead of me going to my treatment center, going to my psychiatrist, where I just sort of talk about myself and my problems and they're pulling my issues out of me, I went to this young people's AA meeting and they told their stories. And whatever happens, that's the little magic piece in AA is that somehow in AA, when we tell each other our stories, we all get better. So I had it backwards. I thought that if I just excise the demons that lived inside of me, that I would feel better. But it's actually the other way around. When I hear you tell your story, I feel better. And so I was really attracted to it. Something was unlocked in that young people's meeting where it motivated me enough to go to another meeting. I have to tell you too, last Sunday I wasn't here. I'm usually here on Sundays. Last Sundays, I went to see my friend Antonio speak at the Castro Valley speaker meeting, 7:30 in Castro in San Francisco. And there was a guy there who spoke at my second meeting. And I don't know if any of you go to meetings in San Francisco, but his name is Lord. You guys know Lord? So yeah, Lord has like a spider web tattoo that goes all over his face. And he spoke at the meeting at the Shenham Center Detox. And it had to be like middle of December 1995. And I couldn't tell you what he said, but what I can tell you is that some part of my resistance to Alcoholics Anonymous got blown off of me when he spoke. And I got to go up to him and say what I just told you. And he looked at me and he had a little tear in his eye. And he's like, thank you for telling me that. Lord's now 36 years sober. And I already told you how long I've been sober. So I don't know if Lord even remembers me, right? I didn't. Last time I saw him was like 2001, but we had that little moment, and that's how AA works at this level. So I went to I think my first big mistake is I went to a EBIPA business meeting early on in my sobriety. You guys know what EBIPA is? It's the East Bay Young People in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a service committee that young people put together, and then they have events and do fun stuff. The room is littered with old young people like me. Don't make me point at you. The business meeting was, I didn't understand a thing that was going on, but one of the guys there was like, you should come to my home group. It's really fun. And I was like, cool, what's a home group? He said, it's called Danville Young People. And my first thought was like, what's a Danville? Gross. I'm not going to that. And what came out of my mouth was like, oh, okay. And when I went to that meeting, I met a bunch of people that were around my age, but maybe a little bit older, who had been doing AA just a little bit longer. And I could see the path from what I was doing to what they were doing. And their lives were rocking. Like they were doing really cool stuff that I knew I was not qualified to do. But there was like a little set of breadcrumbs to where Todd was and where Tim was and where Bridget was. And I just got into this pack of young people and followed them around. And believe it or not, they accepted me, right? It also can be said that our biggest success in Alcoholics Anonymous is the love that the fellowship expresses to us, right? Like I hated myself until like 3 or 4 years ago. That's a joke, by the way. Bear with me. Are we identifying tonight with that? I remember like getting those like hugs from people that I didn't know. And I was like, look, I'm the jump out of the ambulance, kill everybody guy. And you're giving me a hug? Don't you know who I am? And it was weird, like that chain of like love and service is actually what runs counter to that chain of alcoholism that came and landed on me when I was born. And so I went to that young people's meeting in Danville, and there was a big line of greeters, kind of like the one we had tonight, and they were all shaking hands and hugging and hanging out. And that group just like scooped me up and pushed me forward. I did a bunch of stuff that people like me are not really supposed to do, right? Like, really? 5 minutes? Wow. Okay. We're going to shift hard. Because that was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. It's weird for me to say it too. My first 10 years were about becoming a human again, right? Like I felt like a freaking animal. I remember when I was first getting sober, telling my mom, like, if you want to understand me, listen to that song Dead Souls by Joy Division. And I wasn't being hyperbolic. I felt like I was dead inside. Like there was just nothing in there. And I wonder I was so miserable, right? And being like swept up into life and doing what these young people do, the first thing that they did is like, we get sponsors and we work the steps. And so those first 10 years were about me learning how to apply the steps in my life as a way of life. At first, like learning how to just function normally, somewhat normally, and then starting to apply the steps in all parts of my life. Like these people in this young people's meeting were like, we think you're smart enough to go to college. You should go to college. And I'd be like, nobody in my home, in my life, in my whole family goes to college. We like go to war or we like work at a hospital and that's it. Right. And they're like, that's okay. Do what we do. And I just got successful, right, by doing what these people did, right? I had a design for living that enabled me to change into what it is I wanted to become. I knew in my brain that that wasn't going to work, but I watched these young people do it and I did it and it worked. So in my first 10 years of sobriety, I got off all my antipsychotic medication. I shed all of my diagnosis. I went to school. I graduated from college. I got my first real sober girlfriend, which is probably the biggest miracle in my mind. And I ended up moving. I went to San Francisco State and I studied cinema, and I moved to LA and worked in the film industry for 5 years. And that's something that a courageous, smart person does. And that's not your speaker tonight. Like, I am a terrified overthinker, but I did it anyway because of the experience of the people in the Fellowship of AA and the power that I found through the steps. I turned 10 years sober in LA, and once again, sort of listless and slightly lost, my friends in AA down there roped me back into young people's service. And we started doing service stuff and started thinking about the traditions. My second 10 years was really about the traditions, about learning that it's not all about me. You know that normal people don't have to have like very clear directions about it not being all about you? Like normal people figure that out maybe in their preteens or at worst when they have a kid and look at their kid for the first time. They're like, oh my God, this life isn't all about me. Well, it took 10 years of sobriety and Alcoholics Anonymous for me to figure that out. But it's once again, it's our default, right? Like, especially when I'm in pain or suffering, I usually can't see right beyond my nose. But I'll tell you what, nothing changed my behavior more than an aversion to making amends and doing committee work and young people in AA. I really got to learn how to work with people, like figure out how to be in groups of people. The steps were really about becoming one whole person, and the traditions showed me how to work with other people. I hate to break it to you, but the world is full of people, full of weird, fucked up people. And we have to work with them, right? In spite of what I think or feel, or I don't want to work or be around them, we do, right? And so the traditions are a set of tools that allow me to express maybe this most powerful thing in our fellowship, and that's our unity, right? Us being together is how this works. Remember, I told you how I think AA works. It's that we share our stories with each other. Well, it doesn't happen unless we're together. We did find something out really interesting during the pandemic, and that is that our unity works digitally too. That we can have the message carried through the people online. Hi, people online. And it's amazing, right? So how many minutes are gonna now? 0? Great.
There you go.
3 minutes, great. So yeah, the committee work is a lot of people are allergic to it, and I understand that. That makes sense. But doing things that contribute to us being together has given me so much freedom. And it also built this fellowship that I'm looking at tonight that is really the biggest miracle in my life. I moved back from LA in 2008. And I was sort of like listless and lost, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my career. I still had that little thing in my mind that I think a lot of us do, which is like, it's another version of I'm not qualified. It's I'm not good enough, or I don't know my real value in this world. And I think a lot of people after 10, 15 years of sobriety, like get their success in AA and then are like, what am I going to do? Right. And that's where I was. I was like, what am I going to do? I ended up getting a master's degree, which at first I got it out of spite to show my family how cool I was. Turned out they didn't care. But yeah, I got an MBA, master's in business administration. And then I was like, I don't know. First of all, I couldn't figure out how to, I knew I still wasn't qualified to be in love. And then I met my wife in a subcommittee to rewrite the bylaws of Intergroup. I'll spare you that story, but yeah, like this is okay. I'll stop telling this joke, Marissa, I promise. What I'm trying to say is that if you're looking for love, find the weirdest AA subcommittee to get on and get on it. It worked for me. So that landed. The last 10 years of my sobriety have been about our third legacy, and that's about service. And it's fine to understand that contributing to our unity is cool and makes me feel good. But the biggest thing that I can do is give up my most valuable commodity, and that's my time. And as it turns out, the more time that I surrender to this, the more I feel like a real person again. I feel that value growing, and I feel like the guy that I always wanted to be, plus. Like there are so many places in Alcoholics Anonymous that need your help. There are way, way, way more commitments that are waiting for alcoholics like you to help other alcoholics than are people to do them. Way more, way more. And I think part of it is that we've developed a kind of service structure, whether it be intergroup, like Evan talked about. General service has, funky committees with weird acronyms like PICPC. You can ask Chase what that means. And we have all these things that are set up and nobody wants to do them. And then we wonder why AA is shrinking. I've got news for you. AA is shrinking. It's been really fun up to this point. It's going to get sad now. Are you ready? When I got sober in the mid 90s, AA was about 2.5 million people. It's now a little less than 2 million people. But the population of the United States has grown by 30 million. So we've actually shrunk by 20% since I got sober. So why? Well, part of it is I think that we're not doing the blocking and tackling necessary to keep up, right? Nobody's on it. Do you guys know what public information cooperation with the professional community is? Yeah. Like 4 people are like, kind of. Yeah, that's a place where people recommend us. That's where we get to know and make relationships with people in our community that recommend AA. A lot of us are here to get an attendance slip signed, Also, like this has been my little soapbox this last year, but I think most people, I made a joke about being the last generation of AA people to get sober on payphones and phone books. Well, people get sober now by Googling it. Have you ever Googled, how do I stop drinking? Go ahead. I won't be mad at you. Get your phone out. Guess what? It doesn't say anything about AA. Nope. So I think that we have to find a way to be available to people online who are looking for us, and we're just not. We're just not. So what are we going to do? Build more AA websites, I say, right? I think every home group should have their own website. We have a really good one. And we do a lot of our communication here online. We have link trees, and a lot of you came to this meeting through our website. So I think that there's a lot that we can do for the future to reach out to the people who have not yet found us. Those people from the 2000s, those modern century people that don't want to talk to a guy like me, but maybe someone like you, right? Who knows what it's like to, I don't know, get a bunch of not enough likes on Instagram? Does that make you feel bad? I don't know. See, I'm out of touch already. So I just want to thank you again, right? You are, seeing all you and seeing the relationships I have with all you is really fills my life up. And I can't believe I've been sober this long, and I'm sure you're all very happy for me. But I just hope that I can give back a little bit of what the AA life has given me, and I just can't wait to give it back. So thanks for having me.